After this wife threatened to put her unborn child up for adoption, her husband disappeared and soon sent her divorce documents. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
Put a finger down if your husband ghosted you for 48 hours and you're financially reliant on him and you only had $13 yesterday and you texted him to give you some money and he literally just ignored you the entire day and you called him and you ignored him. He ignored you. And so then you went on his computer and you logged into his bank account to send yourself some money, because I usually don't have access to his bank accounts, but his passwords were saved on his computer, so I was able to get in and finally send myself some money. And then you still couldn't get in contact with him, and then he comes while you're not home and moves all his stuff out, and you still don't know where he is, and he's like literally missing from you, like you don't know, you basically got abandoned. And he moves his truck and everything, his car, to his dad's house, and you still don't know where he is, so you pull up to his dad's house at 1 a.m. Well, actually, I forgot to mention that finally at 7:59, his dad sent you money on Venmo, and then you show up at his dad's house at 1 a.m. and you ask to talk to him, and his dad says he's sleeping, try again tomorrow. And not to mention, he took the other dog, so now like your dog's lonely. And he's not legally allowed to do that because there's no separation in order. But anyway, so then you show up at his job this morning, like to finally, and ask him to talk. And he literally says, okay, like it's gonna be a minute. And so then you sit there and you wait. And he brings his manager over, and he literally says to you that it's a private matter, so it has to be handled outside of work. But you've been trying to contact him for 48 hours, and he says he'll get to you after work.
So it sounds like an explosive argument took place between her and her husband. And that argument resulted in him being completely done. That's what it sounds like to me. Guys, how did I know that she threatened to put their unborn child up for adoption? It comes in a later video. It's going to come. And this is why, she framed this in a way so that people automatically take her side. As you keep listening, you're going to realize this chick seems to have some serious problems, and she's online trying to start a content career because people feel bad. Why are you on here reacting to these sad women? They're posting videos of themselves. She's literally trying to benefit from her failing marriage and create an online presence of breaking up a family. Now, granted, these are two people participating in all this, right? But it sounds like that man is fed up. And listen to all wives out there. A man can only take so much stress, so much conflict, so much drama before he decides peace and being lonely. People talk about the loneliness epidemic of men today. Plenty of that is very true. But a portion of that are men who just don't want to deal with contentious and insufferable women who are going to drive them up the wall. So let's summarize a bit of what was said here. Number one, she says, put a finger down if your husband has ghosted you for the past 48 hours. So he ghosted her. He doesn't want any contact with her whatsoever. On top of that, she says she financially relies on him and only has $13 left to her name. There's a silver lining in that. There's some good news in that, is that that's enough for a good cup of coffee. Maybe 2, depending on where you go. Maybe 3 if you decide to make it yourself. Right? Then she goes on to say, you called him a bunch of times, so she's blowing up his phone. She went to the bank and logged in so she could transfer some money so she could get herself something to eat. Disrespecting the hand that feeds you is crazy. And then goes on to say, moved all his stuff out. Sounds like he's gone. And lastly, took the dogs and finally showed up to his work like a crazy chick. And they said, hey, this has to be handled outside of work. We're going to read a few comments here, then we're going to check out this next video. My question, of course, to you is, does this not sound like a man who's fed up? Top comment here says, give a man power to feed you. You give him the power to starve you. Interesting comment, some truth in it. We can talk more about that later. Somebody else here says, put a finger down if you would have cleared the bank account and changed your number. Okay, so of course, a lot of people responded back to this comment. Put them all down for this one. So of course, like the chicks are here like, yeah, clears bank account. Yeah, F him. Goes on to say, the way I know he's white. Is he? Is he? Somebody else responded back to that comment and says, did her aura really give black woman with a black man though? Oh shit. So I guess they're over here confirming that he's dating a white man, which I don't know why this is to some people when they hear that you're dating someone of the opposite race. You know, when I say that, I mean like if you're a black man dating a white woman, they're just like, F you, we don't care what you go through. If you're a black woman dating a white guy, they're like, oh, F you, we don't care what you go through. At the end of the day, man, don't let people to pick who you decide to give your love to, build with. Okay, somebody else here says, young women seeing this, please get a job and have your own account. Never ever rely on a man and think this couldn't happen to you. Yeah. I mean, that's the vulnerability, right? In this type of dynamic that you set up. And I think it works. I don't want to say it doesn't work. It works for some people. I also do warn men and say, think very hard when it comes to you setting that type of dynamic. Because when you go to court, and what I've been told, more information for men who value marriage at fathershaverights.com. But when you go to court and they now want to figure out how things are going to go structurally going forward, what I've heard from the attorneys I've spoken to is they would typically honor the dynamic and economy that was set up in your home. Meaning what? Meaning your wife will get more money out of you if they look at her like a helpless woman who can't work, even if she has a degree. Yes, even if she did work 10 years ago, they want to sustain that dynamic. You may look at it as unfair. What's the justification? The justification is typically we want to make sure that the turbulence is minimized for the child. Somebody else here says if he's white, he's probably done fetishizing you, sis. Oh, he's okay. So she's like, he's done fetishizing over you. It's over. Hopefully you sign a prenuptial agreement. Somebody else who says getting abandoned as an adult is crazy. This female commenter says 100% relying on a man in 2025. All right, so let's check out this next video here.
Y'all are tearing me up in these comments. Like, I mean, I deserve it, but like, I have a plan. Like, let me cook. Shit. I just really had to like repeat the situation out loud because it's so childish that I cannot like fathom it. I had to crash out, process what was happening, like, and now I'm chill. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm gonna take y'all's advice tomorrow after a good night's sleep. I always say I did it so you don't have to, so learn from this, you guys. I would go through this a million times over if it meant that I could stop somebody from going through this. Also, if you're in like a similar situation, you're gonna be okay. This too shall pass. Like, don't let boys be mean to you, ever. I don't understand why somebody would do this to like another human being, but I also like don't want to understand. I'm glad I don't understand. Shout out to everybody who has contacted me and offered to clean my litter box and just, you know, told me they were there for me. That really meant the world to me. Love you guys. Keep you updated.
I really do think that a lot of these stories would play out way differently if the man jumped in. Because, you know, when the man usually jumps in, you end up finding out stuff that you never expected in these type of situations. But then, you know, you have this, the chick telling her side of the story, and one channel named The Coffee Pod and a few others who serve some coffee.
You guys have like a lot of statements that you're saying, and so I'm going to clear up some of that. Before I knew I was pregnant, I started a new job, and then I started feeling like super sick.
Okay.
And super tired, and I could not work anymore. Like, it was actually unbearable. If you've ever been the first trimester of pregnancy, you know what I'm talking about. That should be illegal to work during that time. Relying on him financially was literally supposed to be temporary. Never permanent. I'm not like that stupid. I'm a full-time student in college. No, I'm not getting rid of my baby. I've always wanted a baby. I've always wanted a child, so that's a no-no. You guys are literally so sweet. I put my Venmo and my Cash App in my bio because a lot of people were asking for it because they want to help me out.
That should be red flag number one if you've been doubting the direction that this is headed. Venmo and Cash App in my bio. Help me pay for my divorce and court fees. We need to start something like this for men. You know, when a man's on here, and I know, man, we don't usually get on here and beg and cry because no sympathy for men. I get it. And I don't think men should. But I think once in a while, we just need to show some men, just a few men, some love. If I see it, I'll do it. Right? Even if it's a little bit, you know, to help finance. Because what she's asking for is finance to probably pay for court fees, attorneys, this and that. And of course, her video had millions of views. Chances of her getting that are high.
Like, thank you guys so much for like all your support and stuff. You guys are really helping me feel better, like genuinely. I'm not due until August, so a lot can happen in the time frame between now and August. So yeah.
Keep listening, keep watching. Hold your final conclusion.
Yo, I was literally so invested in the Bree and 2K situation, like their custody battle for baby Winter. I didn't know I was gonna be next. Twin him.
All right, so here we are. It was at this point I was like, nah, see, you're now trying to leverage this situation. And if you can do this, there's a reason your husband is trying to run very, 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 very fast away from you.
I wanted to start a podcast for almost a year now. Like, I have the name picked out and everything on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. Like, I made a YouTube channel for it and I made an Apple Podcast channel for it, and I just never started it. This whole situation has really like lit a fire under my ass. Either that or second trimester, like I'm having a lot of energy. Back to my podcast. It's called Pretty Hurts. And if you're really good at cover art or like kind of decent at cover art or graphic design, if you're good at graphic design and you want to make a cover for me, that would be great. And I would pay you probably not much right now, but when I'm up, I'll pay you more. I'll give you the rest when I'm up. I have to make a payment plan. I did.
Okay, so she says she has to make a payment plan for what? For people she wants to pay for the podcast that she's starting while her marriage is going up in literal flames in front of all her eyes. Now, think about that. Does that sound like somebody who's in a devastated situation? Does it? Granted, you could say, Chisha, maybe she's, getting herself together and there's really tears in the background. Cool. But somebody who's really, really trying to fix their marriage, they're not going online to expose their husband and their whole situation and trying to start a podcast from it. Guys, I may be wrong here, but please, it doesn't make sense.
I did speak with a lawyer. For those of you that have been wondering, if I can go through this while being pregnant, I can have a job. I have more interviews next week, so that's really good. I had an interview yesterday and it went really well. I scheduled a therapy appointment yesterday, and the soonest available appointment was April 4th. So I hope, I put myself on the waiting list, so I hope something will maybe open up this week. I don't think I've been to therapy in almost 2 years. I'm really excited that my therapist was still working at the same place. Right now I'm learning how to sit with discomfort. Something else that this whole situation is highlighting is that I kind of lost my independence. Well, clearly, obviously, duh. I mean my personality outside of a relationship. I'm really enjoying getting back in tune with myself because I feel more like myself again. I feel like mentally I was so discombobulated because I was neglecting myself so much. I have a taste of my old life. It's kind of bittersweet. Having one dog, my dog that I raised from a baby. It used to literally just be me and him, and I worked retail and I would come home to him and we would sleep together, and it was life was so simple for me. But
all right, so here's where a little bit of the truth starts to be revealed.
up until we were married, my parents gave me allowance every 2 weeks. People made fun of me for calling it allowance. It's funny. Once you get married, you leave your parents and you cleave to your husband. So that was my thought process.
Right.
He even told me that he wanted me to stop getting allowance because he wanted to provide for me as my husband.
Cool.
As a Christian, I'm okay, yeah, that makes sense. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out we were reading 2 different books.
All right, so listen, I don't know how old this chick is, but she says up until we're married, my parents gave me an allowance every 2 weeks. Red flag to me. Red flag to me. And this is why. I think in the day and age we're living in today, man, I think a lot of, and maybe they're just old school and don't realize this, but I don't think I would, as much as I want to raise up feminine women, I would want them also to know how to fend for themselves in case they would want to. I don't think there's any, especially today, not knowing what the future may hold when it comes to the culture of marriage. Of course, my goal is to raise up feminine daughters who are wives, but giving your daughter allowance up until the time she's married on a bi-weekly or weekly basis just seems enabling, if you ask me. Do you guys agree? Yes or no? The same way that I know when I have sons, because I know that women are turning into grown men out here. We just had a video of a chick who was bragging about how much she can squat. She was like, I can squat 250. Why don't I have a husband? I'm like, ma'am, you would make the perfect husband for the women who are out here crying and looking for a man. Since I know that the rate of grown men out here in skirts is just accumulating. But listen, you guys see it all the time. More and more and more. Then my sons are going to know how to cook. They're going to know how to do all the things within the household that a woman does, because it might take them a while for them to look through the haystack to find like, hey, I think I got one, guys. Hey, come on. I think we found a wife. You guys understand? Let's see what people have to say to this one. I'm actually going to check out the comments for this one. Top comment here says, you need to stop posting. You're pissing me off. Like you're not this slow. And so why would the women who have experience in leaving men who they're married to say, yo, you need to stop posting online? Number one, they know that this probably isn't going to look good in court. When you're up there talking about your husband, your soon-to-be ex-husband, and you have a child on the way, which he probably wants custody of that child. He's probably going to fight for custody of that child. They'll just go through these videos. They'll just be like, hey, could you go search the Coffee Pod Chishizet on YouTube, please? Yeah, pull up that video, that one right there. And then the judge is going to say, oh, I know this channel. All right, so somebody responded back and says, girl, relax, what? Somebody else who says, he's likely taking her to court and she's posting all this online. Yeah, it's not going to work out. Here's somebody else who says, so basically your family sent you out into this world extremely naive. I agree. Somebody else who says, girl, you are too pretty for him. You got to love chicks. You got to love women, man. Haven't even seen them. And they mean this shit. You're too pretty for him. Like, you got to love women. Oh, shit. Somebody else who says, I know he is not the same color as us. Of course, here comes the color as us comment. Somebody else who says, for a white man, LMAO. Somebody else who says, girl, do not have that baby. Please do not. Your life will be a living hell. Take it from somebody who has watched my mom and some girlfriends go through it. Every single one of them said they would go back and change it if they could. You still have your entire life ahead of you to start over and do this right. So, of course, they're calling for her to delete her baby. Actually, I didn't read the comments from the previous videos, but if I go check out these comments, a lot of people are telling her right here, number one advice from a lawyer, stay off social media. Do not post. Like they're trying to tell her, hey, what are you doing? Right? Somebody else here was pretty much telling her also, don't put him on the birth certificate. Somebody else who says, do not give the baby his last name. In all honesty, I probably should have gotten to this video a lot sooner. But regardless, this is when shit started to hit the fan for this chick. And she finally realized that her husband was in fact through, right? He served her divorce papers.
Here's the update that you guys have all been waiting for. I got served this morning. It's literally such a relief because now I don't have to wonder what the heck is going on. I understand a lot of legal terminology and I understand things from a legal standpoint, and I was literally giggling the whole time I was reading it. He's trying to file for a restraining order as well. A lot of people in my comments are saying that the person who files first usually is better off, but I disagree. I really truly believe that being able to read what the other person says, the reasoning for divorce is, gives you the upper hand. They put all of their points in the first time, so it's I have an answer for everything. You're gonna accuse me of misusing my prescribed medications. This is the goofiest. There's just so many things that are making me laugh. I cannot wait to do the response. He also put in there that I recommended or considered having or putting the kid up for adoption, which I think he tried to, try to paint it so that they can sway his way. But
by the way, if you didn't hear it, because my editor is probably going to mute that right there. She says that in the divorce papers, he accused her of threatening to put their child up for adoption or getting the child deleted. So at that point, he probably was like, are you okay? Right? And listen, giggling about your divorce documents when you're setting yourself up for failure is crazy.
But I'm doing what's in the best interest for the child. It's already apparent to me that he's not thinking about the best interest of the child, he's thinking about the best interest of himself. Like, of course, I would love to keep my child. Like, obviously, I wouldn't have gotten pregnant if I didn't want a baby. I recommended that after I could not get in contact with you. Why would I want my child to grow up in a broken home? As a Christian, I would never want to child. I said something in the moment, in the heat of the moment. Ugh. Adoption should be a consideration. I just don't understand why you wouldn't consider adoption. If you're gonna do a restraining order against me, why would I want to put my kid through that? Mommy cannot come within a certain amount of feet of daddy. A restraining order for showing up at your job after I couldn't get in contact with you, and that's the only place I knew you would be. And I left peacefully after I was asked to leave. And I showed up at your father's house, and I left peacefully when I was asked to leave. How am I, like, what? To each their own, but yeah, like, why would I want to bring a kid into that? That's messed up. That's a
So you're going to put his child up for adoption?
human being with a brain, a consciousness, feelings, emotions. Why would I bring them into this drama when we could both leave each other alone, put the baby up for adoption?
That's wild.
And they could have a family that is together and loving and parents who love each other and like have the best possible chance at life. Oh, but I'm the bad guy because I don't want my kid to have to pack a bag halfway through the week and every freaking week. And a lot of y'all are telling me like to tell my parents and stuff like that, but honestly, I'm an adult. I made an adult decision. Baby is my responsibility. My parents, I don't want to bring them into that. I just don't want to consume them with my drama. I'm not going to sit here and run to mommy and daddy. I do have that option, but I don't want to do that. I want to handle this as an adult. Yeah, it's just me and little Frankie against the world. I'm not actually naming him that for sure. Someone told me to name him Gus. Get out of my face. I'm having a baby boy. I'm carrying Solo. That's definitely a boy. That wives' tale is like so true. They accuse me of misusing Lexapro. How do you misuse Lexapro? Life's about to get real good. I got a full night of sleep last night and I'm doing even better. I really needed that. I don't have like the knots of anxiety in my stomach anymore. I'm just excited to rebuild my life, meet my son, try to give him the best life that I possibly can. God provides a peace that surpasses all understanding. That's how I'm so just really grateful to be able to like start over. It feels like I'm starting over. It's just actually hilarious how someone can try to paint you as somebody who's going to be an awful mother, and like I don't know, it's just crazy how you can try to paint me that way when every person I've told said that I was going to be a good mother. Like I am literally textbook great mom in everybody's heads, and it's like it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to, and I know that God has my back.
God has all your backs, and I believe that. There will be tears shed. This is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, let's be honest. Any man who's in this situation, because what it sounds like is that there were threats. There were threats of, hey, I'm going to delete this child. I'm going to give this child up for adoption. I'm going to delete this child. Eventually, that man's going to start to question your state of mind, so on and so forth. You know, there does seem to be something going on here in that regard. And also, he said that she was abusing prescription medication, so on and so forth. It sounds like he's taken the proper steps to make sure that he tries to get custody of that child. Let's read a few comments here. Top comment says, it's giving Tracy Barbie. I'm sorry, someone had to say it. Somebody else who says something is off here. Yeah, somebody else says, how do you misuse Lexapro? Who trying to get high off Lexapro with the crying emoji. You remind me of Tracy Barbie. I don't know who that is. And here somebody else says, there's no way this is real. Definitely seems real. Or this is even more insidious, and this chick is some type of a psychopath who's making all this up, which would be insane.
I can't stop laughing because I got asked for child support. Penny, nickel, dime, penny, penny, nickel, dime. Maybe because I'm blowing up on TikTok, you think I'm about to have some money out of nowhere? Child support. Oh, brother. Obviously, you can ask for child support right now, but like for after the baby's born. So basically, people are banking on my TikTok coin. I don't know if I'm flattered or disgusted. What gonna say? She banking on me on a bank. I smack her, she love to get spanked.
This doesn't sound like somebody who's devastated over what's actually happening here. I don't know, guys. You let me know. I don't know what that medication she mentioned actually does or what it's for. If you know, comment down below. And finally, I do think that this also highlights another area of frustration when it comes to the fact that men are expected to take full responsibility of children once they're born, which, by the way, I believe if you're out here creating children, you have a responsibility to take care of those kids, right? But follow me here. But at the same time, men don't have any say-so when it comes to that child and if that child will be brought into this world or not. And a woman can hang over the fact of, if you leave me, I'm giving this child up for adoption. It's kind of evil. Think about that. That's kind of evil to hold over a man who really wants to have time with his seed if it comes into this life. Very horrible, and why I think a lot of these child support laws should change. If a woman can relinquish herself as a responsibility of a child or just let go, then a man should have that right as well. Comment down below if you agree, and also let me know what you thought of this topic.